Thank you, Maddie. Thank you also, Mikko and Erik, of course. Alf Rehn, please do us the honors of joining the others in Stockholm, as we ask also Theo Aggelopoulos, who is the Vice President of AutoCAD and AEC and Design Strategy at Autodesk, to join the panel again in Stockholm. And also in Oslo, we're now joined by Katrina Mörk and Tonje Frykendal, is that right? Verdal, sorry. A lot of different names to keep track of. Okay, so we have had quite a few audience questions coming in, actually. Alf, I'm going to go ahead and venture that you actually have the ability to answer a question with a short answer. Am I correct?
No. I can do my best, but I make no promises.
I hope that will suffice. One of the audience members asks, how do you know that something is really new, is an innovation, and not just an iteration of what you've been doing before?
I mean, it's a great question. And in a sense, you can never know. We know that when new technologies come, that there's always risk coupled to them. But what I always say is, look for the friction. If the more conservative members of your organization or your industry are swearing this won't ever be anything, that's a signal that there is something happening. That's a signal that there is at least some form of interesting thing in it. But hey, nobody promised innovation would be easy, and there is no sure way, no sure thing, no 100% guarantees in this business. Short enough?
Yeah, short enough. Wait for someone to get mad. That's what I heard. Awesome, thank you. Another question directed firstly at you, Katrina. What would you say are the major changes in the industry over the last year? Is it the focus on LCA and sustainability that what you're experiencing mainly?
Depending on who you ask. I believe that on the top management level, there is a shift in the understanding that something is about to change. Whereas earlier, I think most of the innovations and drive has been bottom up. I feel a sense of shift top down that, hey, we need to stay in business. We need to do something about it ourselves before someone else does it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Theo Aggelopoulos, do you feel that there's an increased demand from your customers when it comes to sustainability? And if so, how does that impact the product development and innovation work that you do at Autodesk?
I think the short answer is yes, more than ever. And a lot of that's been driven by government mandates around the world. In the US, there's different kinds of SEC filings that are forcing a lot of building owners to have to basically deliver more sustainable outcomes. So as a global software provider, I think our objective is to allow our customers to make better decisions earlier, which I think is what you talked about earlier. So, and we have to be more open and more interoperable because there's many different types of sustainability solutions out there that our customers need to be able to use. And I think as we transition from being more of a traditional software product company to a platform company, it's going to allow kind of a richer ecosystem of sustainability solutions to operate within our ecosystem. So yeah, I think not just for Autodesk, but I think all technology providers are going to have to move in that direction.
Okay, thank you. So tech providers need to move in that direction. Tonje, when you and I discussed this session before, we also discussed that collaborating internationally might have cultural differences, but there are also legal aspects that differ from country to country, from market to market. Is this something that hinders, do you think, the tech innovation side or the collaboration side, the fact that the law is different?
Yeah, in some part it might do, because the one in position with the contract holder might not have the right mindset, right? So in that regard, it might be a hindering. But having that said, Katrina's proposal of, what about not having a contract at all would be brilliant to actually test out of if that could actually free up the minds and make that change. But I do believe that in any contract form or any juridical regulation, you can still try and find the right solutions, and you can still use technology, you can still use your expertise to drive the change within sustainability, and it's all about the minds of those that collaborate and that you trust the others in that process and raise the attention of what is really at stake here, and just make the contract being a safe ground in the background.
Okay, so more of a cultural thing than a legal.
I accept it, yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you. Alf, you talked about the need to build a culture for innovation that allows for people to trust, as you say, but also to really focus on the questions at hand, the important questions that are up. Isn't there a risk from your perspective that the use of digital collaboration might mean that we lose some of the things that create culture? Because culture is the sum of all interactions. An interaction can be digital and it can be physical. Is there a risk that we lose some of the things that we do physically, interactively, in the digital interaction? And how do we keep them in that channel?
I think, of course, there's a risk. I mean, there's always been that problem that as we create technologies of distantiation, we disconnect some of the more human element of communication, of culture, and so on. So we need to, of course, take care of actually meeting also physically, organizing summits such as these, and enable also human communication. But I think the question might be slightly wrongly asked. The correct question is, of course, do we know that our digital tools are such that they help enough to counteract that? So as I'm listening to, for instance, my two gentlemen friends here talking about being able to embed LCA into basically anything and make it one click, the benefits of that, how that can create space for everyone in an organization to run analyses that previously would have required a dedicated research unit. The potential there is so huge. So can digital stand in the way of innovation? Yes, in some cases. But can digital also supercharge innovation, supercharge development? Hell yeah. So we need to kind of just act intelligently and act with wisdom with the tools we have and make sure that we create the best of all possible worlds.
Erik and Mikko, I'll address you with this question first. This is an audience question that's actually directed to all of you, but we'll see if we have the time to let all of you answer it. But it's a question on business benefits. And Erik, you talked about that at the final stages of your speech. It says, what do you suggest should be done to incentivize private actors to innovate and accept the extra costs associated with innovation in a construction project? Do you agree with the question, the baseline of the question, and in that case, what incentives could be done? And then perhaps, Theo, if you would enlighten us with your answers after Erik or Mikko, you can choose.
Well, I can go first and then Mikko can add something, but I don't know, do we need more incentives? I think, isn't already everybody on board? That's my feeling, at least. I think we all here know what needs to be done and we just need to do it. So I think this is business critical and you will lose out if you don't get on board. Do you want to add
Business benefit is survival. That's okay, so that's easy. Mikko?
Exactly.
Theo,
what else could I say?
Theo, do you have anything to add? Is there a need for incentives, or is it do or die?
I mean, I think we're going to continue to see more and more incentives, and you're already seeing. I think the difference, today between, say, 5 years ago, is the governments have recognized the need to incentivize the ecosystem, to move in this direction. I also think there's an ethical question, which is, as AEC professionals, we have an ethical obligation to make the world a better place, right? So I think we have a role to play regardless of the business benefits.
Tonya, Katarina, you're in a situation where you could be incentivizing this more. Do you feel that you do enough, or do you agree with the panel that it's not really needed? Are they, as they say, there already?
I think we do have potential to do things differently, but I think also being a governmental builder and owner and operator, which has been always in front of things, at least I think many people have the perceptions that we are, we also need to kind of sometimes sit behind and think, hey, what's the next step for us? We also discussed, Jon, that we are not able to do it every time. We have a very strange portfolio of both projects and buildings, right? So maybe on the governmental buildings, we don't have, have the opportunity to take on the risk of doing things totally different. We have the Utøyakaia, which is a memorial site, right? We don't want that to be an innovation project. People running around in the world showing this super sad terrorist attack in 2022. But maybe on different projects, we could do it without contracts, thinking out the box and incentivize in different ways. So for us, it's a little bit a difficult question. Some things we could do on a broad scale, and some things we could do on specific topics in specific projects or buildings. But definitely there is a potential to do more and different.
But I also hear that you sort of agree with the assessment that there's a moral obligation, as Theo said, ethical, but also the fact that most people are already on board on the main idea that this is something that we need to be innovative in order to improve the industry, but also solve the issues of sustainability. We will be discussing tomorrow in a business session, business innovation session, the final session actually of the BIM Summit, whether we are underusing digital models or not that we develop. And I thought Mikko and Erik and then, Theo, you can actually go first this time. Theo, do you feel that we are underusing the digital tools that we develop, or perhaps over-trusting?
I think I think the fact is we are underusing it. There's many much research out there that says 95% of the digital information we create goes unused. I think actually the UK did an interesting study that showed if you look at the productivity output of our industry versus other industries, we're lagging way behind. So I think there's lots of data that supports the fact that we haven't really achieved the vision, I think, of building information modeling. So there's still a lot of work to do.
How is that? That did you say 95% of the data created isn't used?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think part of it is some of the discussion earlier. Different contract models create legal boundaries of why some data can't move between design and constructions. In some cases, we don't have the kind of interoperability between many different digital solutions. I mean, IFC is one way to do that, but I think the reality is there's still a lot of data that gets created, that gets replicated and created all over again through different phases of the project lifecycle.
This sounds like something that's an industry common issue, which also, again, emphasizes the need, of course, for collaboration, because that will sometimes, I guess, clean up the data. Do you, from the experiences that you have had working internationally and nationally, do you agree with this, what they're saying, that the data, there's an issue of using data from different sources and standards?
Yeah, I agree with what Theo are explaining, and we experience that as well. But I think that change will also come, that we trust digital twins and we also understand the operational perspective when designing. So that exchange of data and having a common ownership of that is really important in driving the change forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. You guys are doing exactly what we asked. Thank you. You're sending in audience questions as we speak. So this one is brand new. We'll see who gets it. So listen carefully. How can the tech sector look to help clients, designers, and the like navigate the minefield of the growing number of tech solutions to identify which are the best innovative or most sustainable tools that works better for them? Or who does that? And who feels they can answer it?
I mean,
Theo, Mikko?
I'm going to take a crack at it, or actually a crack at a sort of philosophical reframing of it. I think a lot of our conversations here have to do with the fact that we already have the tools, we already have the data, we are moral people and want to do good. The only thing lacking is action. My answer to the question here would be, doesn't matter, pick one. Start doing something with it. See what happens. Because analysis paralysis is a thing. And it can be seen just as much in digital tools as elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to take another crack at it. So I agree. But I do think technology companies like Autodesk and others, we have to provide a better way for customers to assemble the right tools in a way that's scalable. And I think today we are still, for the most part, building these monolithic products that operate differently. The data's different. So I think as the industry shifts towards more of a data and platform environment, it's going to allow us to connect different types of applications and services in a much more scalable way. And I think that's, an obligation that we have as technology companies like Autodesk to make sure that our customers can use many different solutions the way they need to assemble them, not much different than your iPhone. So, one thing that's unique about your iPhone is you can take different apps and you can assemble them for a unique experience for you, but it's all fundamentally built on the same platform. So I think that's where the industry is going, and that's what's going to allow us to scale in the future.
Mikko, somebody asked actually super quick, isn't that what Symmetry does?
Sorry, once more.
Isn't that what Symmetry does?
Absolutely.
From the audience, somebody super quick went, isn't that what Symmetry does?
Yeah. Sure, we do, and that's basically, we are constantly monitoring the need in the market and, welcoming all the ideas. And actually, we have just established co-innovation practice as part of Symmetry Technology Unit, which is like welcoming all these ideas, and we are investigating those, and with some ratio, those will realize as product features or new technology products. And we are doing that. Co-innovation basically means that we are doing that together with the partners, together with customers, together with research institutes, together with universities, and so on and so forth.
So that's the provider side. Yeah, the user side.
Users, I think also we should start talking about the need, right? What Alf said. What problem are you actually solving? Because if builders, as myself, were very specific of what data do we need to get the right information and insights, what data do we need in the execution phase of a project, what do we need to, to flow to the next phase in operating buildings, it will be much easier also for the technology provider to provide technology that supports that. But I think the whole industry has been too focused on the technology side and not that much on the need for data and information side.
Do you think that the role of, this is also an audience question then, do you think that the role of BIM standardization in advancing will help us advance sustainable development?
Definitely, but I think there's also other technology aspects, other outside BIM that also needs to be handled, such as infrastructure and data management and other types of technology competencies that needs to be contextualized to be able to scale from now.
Okay. So it seems that you all agree that we need to be better at innovation work in order to accelerate the rate at which we build sustainable worlds, actually a sustainable society. So if you were to give the audience one word or one advice on what to do when they leave come Wednesday, not tomorrow, because then you'll be here, right? So wait till Wednesday. What do they do when they get back to the office on Wednesday to increase the innovation rate to help save the planet? Tonje.
Okay, one thing, raise your voice, ask the questions.
Katrina?
I agree. Start with some top management anchoring and say that we can solve these problems with this and that.
Erik?
Get in touch with Symmetry salespeople and yeah, you get it.
They're cheering here in the audience. They go, yeah, do that. Okay, awesome. Mikko?
Well,
What would you suggest?
don't be shy. There's no stupid ideas. I guess that's basically for Wednesday. For today and tomorrow, visit our booth there in the exhibition area.
There you go.
For innovation.
Theo, what are your thoughts? The one advice to increase the speed of innovation to help sustainable development?
Yeah, I'm actually going to defer to what one of our panelists said, which was I think you've got to think about what outcome do you want first, and then apply the process and technologies to solve for that particular outcome.
Okay, thank you. And finally, Alf.
On Wednesday, it's very simple. Go into your organization and go talk about innovation and creativity with somebody whom you've never talked before and who doesn't look like an innovator or creative. See what they get mad about, what they get annoyed about, and see what they have to say.
That's awesome advice. And if you want that conversation, just dress down, look boring, come Wednesday and everything. You don't have to look boring. I'm just kidding. Thank you so much, all 6 of you, for an inspirational session and closing on the first part of the BIM Summit 2023.